Standing by.
So professional.
Okay, we are now live. Bear with me one moment. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us in the Freds of Mr. Ed Q&A room. What an amazing demo day. I hope everyone enjoyed it. It was an amazing effort from all the startups, and I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did. This is the Q&A section. This is where you get to ask questions to the founders, and if you want to know more information on their pitch, this is the place to ask it. Don't be shy. However, the live Q&A function is having some technical issues, so it may drop in and out. So I do ask for your patience. We will, of course, continue this session as an Ask Me Anything, and hopefully through that we'll answer most of your questions and queries that you're curious about, regardless of actually having that question function available. But please do give it a go because we will be checking it throughout the AMA. So here in the room we have Amy and Rich, co-founders of Friends of Mr. Ed, the creators of social platform for racehorse owners, Fred. Welcome Amy and Rich. So good to your pitch was amazing.
Thank you.
So we're going to start with, I guess, a couple of questions that might leap off of the pitch, some things that you started to tell us about in there that we are curious to know more about. So firstly, I loved the story about you meeting Gay Waterhouse, that leading to your first horse purchase. So tell us a bit more about that and how that led to your business idea.
Yeah, so we went to the auctions at the Inglis auctions in Melbourne, and we got introduced to Gay Waterhouse, and the next minute we had a share in a racehorse. So that was our first introduction. We got 6 mates together. Horse was in Sydney, we were in Melbourne, some people in Adelaide and some people overseas in the US. And with our banking background, building digital platforms and products, we knew that there was a better way. We'd get emails from Gay Waterhouse. They'd be either 2 days after the race. By then we were over it. So we wanted to really connect with the owners because we didn't really know who they were. Socialize with them via an instant chat messaging service, and also get photos. There's a lot of people that are at the stable taking photos and sharing them, and we felt disconnected. So
yeah, it's probably important to note that when you buy into a horse, you might have a syndicate, or you might have bought into a small percentage share as an individual, but you're never introduced to those other owners. So the trainer or the syndicator never sort of says, these are the other owners of the horse. And invariably you end up meeting them at the finish line of the race. And if the horse wins, you end up hugging a random stranger and then you're a new best friend.
Awkward hugs.
Awkward hugs, yeah, that's right. So, the idea for us is, who are these people? We've got this shared passion, this shared interest in horse racing, and you don't actually know who these people are. So we thought, well, how can we make that a really social exchange for the owners? I mean, if you think about getting into horse ownership, people don't get into ownership for a lot of people anyway don't get in there to make their millions, but they do get into ownership for a social exchange. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it looks like our chat function is working at the moment, and we have a question here from Marlene. She'd like to know how you came up with the name Fred.
Oh, well, that actually,
and Friends of Mr. Ed, I guess. Both of your names.
Ed. Well, Fred is actually short for Friends of Mr. Ed, but Friends of Mr. Ed, for those of you that are old enough, might remember the TV show, the US TV show of the talking horse. And we joked about it at the time when we had this horse. We said, goodness, what would happen if your horse could tell you how it was going to perform on any day? So it was actually a bit of a joke at the time. We kind of laughed and went, yeah, talking horse, that's pretty much what we'd like our app to do. So yeah, Friends of Mr. Ed, you're a friend of a horse.
That makes sense. And it's fun and, light. And I guess that is a way of, it's a good name for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Social horse. That makes sense. Tell us a little bit about the typical Fred user.
Yeah, so the typical Fred user is focused on a racehorse owner. So if you own a share in a racehorse, or if you're part of a syndicate group, or if you're a syndicate manager, you're the perfect candidate for Friends of Mr. Ed. However, if you're also friends and family or a hyper fan that you know somebody that owns a horse, you can download the app, you can find the name of that horse, and you can then follow that owner. From my perspective, my dad, my cousins, my friends would always want to know, when's your horse running? Give me the tip, give me the latest information. So, Friends of Mr. Ed allows you to follow that horse and then follow me.
Yeah, so it's good news if you're an owner and you can't be bothered sending that message out to your mates, because they can actually just follow it themselves and find out when your horse is racing.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have to keep texting you.
Yeah.
I would just like to remind the room that they are in the Q&A room for Friends of Mr. Ed, and the live Q&A box is active. We were having some technical issues at the beginning, but it looks like it's working. So please don't be shy in asking your questions in the live question box below. And this is the place to either send words of encouragement or ask anything you want to know about the app, the business, or Rich and Amy themselves, co-founders of Friends of Mr. Ed and the Fred app. So I will jump back into a few more questions until some of these live ones start streaming in. Tell us, you mentioned in the pitch and just now that you came up with the idea because you're horse owners, you're racehorse owners. How many horses do you currently own, and how do you use Fred to manage them?
We own too many, but let's just say that. I think we're up to 11 or 12. Yeah. So
yes, full horses.
We don't own the full horse. No, I was going to say small, percentage of the horse. So in the app, you can actually see your horses. It's a bit like your list of Pokemon cards. You can actually see all of your horses and all the major details about your horse, who the sire and dam were, what the date of birth is, and the prize money that it's won. And most importantly, you can see the list of other owners associated to that horse. So that's pretty much the main feature. You can actually chat to these owners. So it creates automatic chat rooms for the horse. And if you happen to be in a syndicate, you also get your own private chat room for that syndicate.
Yeah, that sounds very, very useful if you're a manager and you have a lot of horses and syndicate groups to deal with. You mentioned in the pitch that you'll never miss a jump, never miss the jump. How does the scheduling aspect of Fred work?
So basically, if you've associated yourself to a horse, you're going to see all of the races for that horse and your own personalized events calendar. So that's kind of exciting because you don't have to trawl through your emails to find out when your horse is running next. There's even a map in there, Google Maps. So if you're driving, when we get out of COVID, if you drive out to the track, you can find out where you're going. You can share the event if you like. You can save it to your phone's calendar. So the exciting thing as well is if you happen to be interstate or you're an overseas owner, that shows you the race in your local time. So no more sort of doing mental arithmetic to try and figure out when your horse is running. You can see it in the app. It's very easy.
Yeah, never miss the jump.
Yeah.
Sounds very useful. If only I still owned a share in a racehorse. Unfortunately, I don't. That was a long time ago. Nitty gritty of today is, of course, demo day is about luring or attracting, I should say, investors, partnerships, things like that. Can you expand a little bit on the type of investment that you're looking for?
Yeah, so we're looking for, we're doing a round at the moment, investment round for 250,000 to 450,000. We're looking for a sophisticated investor or an angel investor. 250,000 will give us the capability to bring on a couple more partnerships and a couple more affiliate partners. It will enable us to turn on our billing capability, and it will give us a profitability component for Q3 2021. The 450K will enable us to do all of that, plus build out our syndicate management module. And really that's where we're changing and moving towards a sports tech company to be a fintech company. Our backgrounds are in banking and finance. So we understand the financial components, and this syndicate management module will allow you to open up a bank account automatically. It will enable you to get your other syndicate managers and followers to put funds into those accounts. and then do that whole invoice management and payment management, and really close that loop of, how do you know how much your horse is costing? Have you paid all the bills in relation to that horse?
Yeah, so the problem at the moment for creating syndicates, it's quite a convoluted process. There's a lot of trust involved. And unfortunately, if you draw the short straw and become the syndicate manager, you end up being a bit of a spreadsheet jockey, pardon the pun. But so what we're trying to do is basically automate that whole process, get the fans back into what they enjoy doing, which is enjoying racing rather than enjoying reconciling bank accounts and finding out what other members want to do. We can build those functions into the app. Yeah.
I imagine that partnerships have been quite important along the way and will continue to be extremely important going forward. Can you expand and tell us a little bit about the partners that you've engaged so far and how they've helped?
Yeah, definitely.
And what you're looking for going forward?
Yeah, definitely. So, one of the first advisors that we got on board was Kestrel Thoroughbreds, Bruce Slade. And Bruce Slade was part of our original journey with our first purchase in a racehorse called Sweet Redemption. Bruce is like the Bruce McAvaney of horse racing. He's a bloodstock. He's
a bit younger than that, but sure.
He's a bloodstock agent. He's grown up in the industry, and he really is providing us the industry advice that we need. And he's also a really strong supporter of the solution, bringing that social side back into racing, connecting those owners and giving them the opportunity to purchase into new ownership models. We've also got partnerships with Atkins Photography and Bradley Photos. So South Australia and New South Wales race photos.
Yeah, the official race photos. Yeah.
Yep, so they take all the photos on track. They are now automatically fed into the Fred app. So owners now don't need to worry about finding where to purchase these photos from. Through the app, they can click on the photo that they like. They'll be taken to the site to purchase those photos, and then those photos will be delivered to them. So we've got partnerships with them. And we're also looking and working closely with the clubs at the moment. So, how can we help the clubs bring more people to the track, but also when an owner's not on track, how can we facilitate that engagement, that digital experience?
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point with COVID. A lot of people are thinking now, well, how do we do things differently? But actually, a lot of owners are interstate or else they're overseas. So they weren't really getting a great experience anyway. So I think this has really opened everyone's eyes to realise, well, how do we make a better owner experience for people that can't make race day? And I think that's a bigger thing that needs to be solved within the industry. So we're there to work through with the clubs and really get more engagement in the sport.
Yeah, and also we're working closely with some betting partnerships. We really want to offer a betting solution to our customer base and give them something bigger and better than they have today. So we've currently got a few discussions in play at the moment to link into from an affiliate perspective.
So ultimately, would it be right to say that the long-term trajectory for Fred is to be the one-stop shop for social and functional performance in horse race ownership? They'll be able to chat with other owners, they'll be able to look at the financial side of investing and keep up to date with the races and place their bets there as well.
Yeah, that's right. So make it easy. I mean, at the end of the day, we're owners and we're building the app for ourselves as much as everyone else. There's a lot of solutions out there. So whether that's wagering or trying to find out how to watch the race or, getting updates from your trainer, there's a lot of different places that you're sort of directed to. We want to make it really simple. So become that ecosystem. So you can literally go to one-stop shop, find all the information you need. Don't have to trawl through all your emails to find information. Keep things super simple.
Yeah, create that singular ecosystem, kind of like what Apple did with the iPhone.
Exactly right.
That Fred will do that for owners. It's really an amazing idea. And just to remind any viewers that have just joined this chat room, I know people are probably hopping around to each startup because there's so many interesting startups to hear from. But if you've just joined us here, you're in the question and answer room of Friends of Mr. Ed, and we're joined by co-founders Amy and Rich. The live question function is having some tech issues because I know some people can't log in. We do apologize for that. However, do stay with us because we are prepared to roll through a bunch of questions. We are pre-prepared, and hopefully in those questions, we're going to touch on the things that you were curious about anyway. And you were just, Rich and Amy, you were just telling us how COVID has really shone a light on the lack of, people haven't been able to socialize at the track, but horse racing, however, through COVID has actually continued, which I guess really says something about its value to the Australian economy. Just how big is it?
So horse racing in Australia is worth $9.5 billion to the Australian economy. So it's up there with sheep, I think, in terms of its economic contribution. So it's quite big. It's really important for regional Australia. So provides a lot of jobs for people in regional Australia. It's one of the biggest sports if you think of the Melbourne Cup in terms of Australian sports. It's really ingrained in sort of the culture of Australia. So it's super important.
Yeah. And we heard in your pitch that you came up with the idea because you're owners and you came across pain points. So you developed this for owners, by owners. What's it like to be an owner? Have you ever been there at the track, at the finish line, and had your horse come in a winner? Maybe Melbourne Cup Day, maybe not, but any race day, really. I'm sure that's exciting. What's it like? Tell us.
Well, it's pretty exciting. Like, especially when we had a Group 3 winner. I think I was hugging Gay Waterhouse at one point in her fur coat. Tell me you got a photo of that.
Tell me you got a photo.
We have a photo of Gay, maybe not me hugging her, poor Gay. It's sort of a feeling that you can't describe. It's a bit like if you imagined you were standing at the finish line watching your son or daughter race in the 100-meter final of the Olympics. Like, you're almost there, you're participating, but you're not. Like, it's the most inclusive type of sport that anyone really can get involved and feel like they're so close to the action. Last year we were pretty lucky. We ended up having a runner in Oaks Day. That was a pretty exciting moment. She came midfield at the end of the day. Didn't win, never mind. It's a bit sad, but I don't know. Like, the experience is amazing. It's pretty exciting. And any owner will tell you this. You can't replace that feeling of watching a horse race, and best of all, watching a horse win is, the next level.
The butterflies. So you definitely get butterflies. You are definitely anxious before a race. And throughout the race, you're constantly concerned about what could happen. But as it comes down to the last 100 meters and you're a nose in front and you win, it's electric.
I don't stand next to Rich when a race is on because I literally lose my ear.
I get very emotional.
But you're the loud one, Rich.
Yeah, well, Italian is that?
Yes, that's true. Well, people might actually be curious because you are co-founders of Friends of Mr. Ed. You're sitting together in the same room. So we could deduce that you're actual life partners as well. What's it like working with your partner as co-founders and partners?
We actually met at work, so we've worked together before. We worked pre being partners, and so it's pretty easy actually. We form that sort of relationship first and really understand how we sort of get the best out of each other in terms of our strengths. So yeah, it's pretty good. I say that now. It's getting a bit scratchy. I think we're into week 5 or something in lockdown. So,
Week 4.
Is it week 4, week 5? I don't even know what month it is.
Yeah, we're actually quite balanced. So Amy's very detailed, very visionary, always looks at every possible angle, lifts every rock and understands that. And I'm more of the excitement, and the glass is always full from my perspective.
Yeah.
So I focus on partnerships. And Amy focuses more on the product side.
That's interesting. You're a dynamic duo, but you aren't doing this alone. You have advisors as well. What's some of the best advice you've received so far, would you say?
Yeah, so the startup bootcamp's actually been quite amazing. So it really gave us the opportunity to focus on the business. We've spent a lot of time over the last 10 months focusing on the product. So some of the great advice we've received is little things like, is your financial model up to date? Have you thought about this new business model? What's your next strategic hire? What's the value to customers? So really going back to the business case and the business model, but also don't underestimate how hard this is. Being in a startup's quite lonely, and there's a lot of work to do. So you really need to focus on all the different things and juggling all the balls.
We're lucky though, we've got an amazing team. So we've got Phil Halbish is helping us in terms of our Chief Financial Officer, and David Hall, who's a very experienced technologist that we used to work with at ANZ. He's our CTO. So we're really surrounded by some pretty amazing advisors, and a raft of other people that we've met through Startup Bootcamp. So we're very fortunate.
I guess inadvertently, we could probably say that along the way, your users probably become advisors in a way, because they give you feedback. What's been some of the feedback from your users so far? How are they enjoying the Fred app?
I think one of the really interesting insights is through the app, when you sign up for it, you have to sort of tell everyone why you love racing. And a lot of the comments that people are writing, they are so passionate. They say it's their life, they love it. They're really into the social side of racing, which I suppose, is great news for us, because it's really validating the fact that we've built a social networking app for owners, for the hyper fan of the industry. So hearing that from the owners, that it is their social passion, they love chatting to other owners, they love talking about racing, really is validated for us that we're in the right spot. Watching the chat before the race is fantastic. So in the chat rooms with our immediate horses, we can obviously see that chat. People are talking about their betting strategies, or if someone back in the day when we were doing a beta version of the product, people are on track, you could sort of ask them what the stable hand said about, or the strapper said about the horse, how it traveled. So really amazing sort of feedback, more immediate feedback as an owner. You want that real-time sort of instant, unfettered kind of feedback, rather than what they currently get from the trainers is very polished and it's after the fact. This is real and it's instant, and that's something that we love. So yeah, that's pretty much the most exciting thing at the moment.
And as owners, you are both actively using the app for your own syndicate and horse management purposes. Along the way in your syndicates, have you made some interesting connections with other owners, formed some bonds with fellow passionate horse race lovers?
Yeah, so we started off with one horse, and now we've got 12. And during that process, we've brought along a number of different people along that journey. So a lot of first-time owners, and those first-time owners now convert into, they have 3 or 4 horses themselves. And recently we created a syndicate of 20 females in a female horse. And we've also just got a syndicate of 20 in Startup Bootcamp with all the cohort in there. So it's a great way to meet and stay connected to this cohort. And we really find connecting to owners is, the amount of different people across Australia that you meet, and actually internationally, is amazing.
That's right. I think there's a lot of people that are fans of the sport. In fact, there's about 4 million people who are racing fans in Australia alone, and they might turn up during Spring Racing Carnival and attend, but have always had the sort of dream that they would like to be a racing owner. And the beautiful thing in Australia is it's not for the sport of kings and queens anymore. It really is, anybody can purchase a share in a horse. Often you might get a smaller percentage if you get a group of mates together and form that syndicate. But because there's such a friction into entry into ownership, there's a lot of technical jargon, or it's quite intimidating to think, who do I contact first? How do I even buy a horse? The thing that Fred's going to help people do is follow their friends, understand the experience. When they feel comfortable, then it's going to be a really easy entry point. They're reducing that friction of entry to basically get their small share in a horse and get going with ownership. So hopefully we're going to be able to bring way more owners into the sport.
I have no doubts that you will. And on that, if anyone is a horse race owner, download the Fred app now. It's in the App Store, so jump on in. We have another 15 minutes with Amy and Rich, co-founders of Friends of Mr. Ed. If you've just joined us, been hopping around rooms, no doubt. We might kind of go back to something that we have answered from the beginning, but for any new viewers, tell us how you came up with the name Fred and Friends of Mr. Ed.
So Friends of Mr. Ed, I'm probably showing my age. I actually never saw it live. It's based on the TV show Mr. Ed, so the talking horse. Rich and I when we were sort of spitballing the ideas about what the app would do, we said, well, you know, it's owners talking to other owners, connections. And we said, oh, imagine if you had a talking horse and the horse could tell you how it was going to perform on any given day. Hence why we made the connection to a friend of Mr. Ed. Yeah.
I love it.
And Fred is just short for Friends of Mr. Ed, so it's kind of catchy. We wanted it to have a bit of personality, so that's why it's called Fred.
Love it. Love it. Now, some people might be curious to know what the difference is functionally between, say, using the Fred app and a Facebook or WhatsApp Messenger.
Yeah, so the main difference, of course, is we create that immediate group for the owners. So you don't have to, if you're a syndicate manager, you don't have to go and create a new WhatsApp group. You basically just download the app, find your horse, and then that chat room for the horse is created. So that's a chat room for all of the owners. And if you're in your own private syndicate, then you'll have an immediate syndicate chat room that's been created for you. So you might want to talk about more personal things or about your finances with your syndicate members. That chat room's ready and waiting for you guys to go. So naming, you know, if you're talking about what selling, any of your strategies around horse ownership, you can just do that in your immediate chat room. So it's pretty easy. And the great thing is if you've got more than one horse, you know, obviously being able to show everyone photos of your horse, share those photos. You can take your own photos and videos and share it with the other owners. You end up getting these amazing sort of catalogs of photos and videos that, you know, you don't normally get, and it's hard to sort of keep track of them all on your phone. So this is all organized for you, makes it really easy.
Yeah. So Demo Day isn't just about, you know, you guys pitching. It's about attracting investors and partnerships and things like that. A little bit about the type of investing that you're after. Tell us a little bit about the kind of partnerships you're looking to attract going forward.
Yeah, so from an investment perspective, we're looking for an angel investor or a sophisticated investor. We're looking to raise 250K to 450K. 250K will give us a couple more partnerships, links into our affiliate members, and turn on our billing that we can then be profitable by Q3 2021. The 450K is focused specifically around syndicate management, and that's where it brings the background of Amy and I in our financial background, where we link a sports tech to a fintech organization, where you can create a bank account, you can then pay all your bills, do the invoice management, the payment management, get all the owners to put money into that account and create that ecosystem for not only purchasing the horse, but also managing the horse. From a partnerships perspective, we're looking for partners in racing clubs, partners from a betting and affiliate perspective. We're having talks at the moment with country racing to see how we can help them out. We've got partnerships with photographers, so Atkins Photography and Bradley Photos to get all the photos linked into Friends of Mr. Ed. And we're also working with Racing Victoria to see if we can get their photos included as well. But one of the things we really want to focus on is we want to create that ecosystem for when an owner goes and watches their horse, and just say they're coming from interstate, we want to be able to link them to the race, get them to the track, if that's via an Uber or via a car, get their hotel accommodation, organise a dinner, get them connected to the other owners, and really be that ecosystem for that owner traveling to watch that race. You know, we've all experienced it being owners ourselves, and it's hard.
There's another key part of the app as well, which we probably haven't talked about, is partnerships with the trainers and the syndicators themselves. So obviously we are going to be the owner and their connections database. We're a great place for you to sell shares on horses. So basically we have a marketplace opportunity for trainers and syndicators to come and advertise with us. And basically for us in the future, it will make it a really easy place for owners to go and purchase their next share. So at the moment in ownership, there's a lot of churn or a lot of drop off. If your horse gets sold, you might not buy another one straight away. This is going to be a really easily flow from I've sold my share in the horse and now I can find my next purchase that I'd like to get into.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge milestone, I think, maybe when that comes about. But what I want to ask is what milestones in the future perhaps you are most excited about. Maybe it comes from one of the things you just mentioned there, because you have a lot of goals, it sounds like. Anything you're most excited about?
Yeah, so the first milestone is to get to 1,000 users, and we're not far off that. The next one is 10,000 users. So we really believe that once we have that amount of users on the platform, it will start to get really organic growth.
Yeah, we're only a couple of weeks from launch date, so we've already sort of close to that 1,000 users. So yeah, we're doing okay in terms of its organic growth. But for me, I personally think when we get that product market fit, we know that the owners are using the platform on a regular basis and they love it, and we're getting that sort of feedback. That's a sign. That's the thing that you really look out for when you're building products, is making sure that your users are really finding value in your product. So we're driven by that.
Yeah, and hopefully, I guess you'll be driven a little bit by that network effect. So once one person in a syndicate has the app, then they'll tell the other members of the syndicate to get the app so that they can connect.
Good point. They don't even need to tell them, right? They can actually share within the app. So if you download the app, there's a lot of sharing capabilities in the app. So you might have downloaded it, found your horse. You're in a syndicate, or maybe you're another owner. You can just send that through any of the normal communication channels. There's a little invite me function, so you can push it out to your friends and then they can download, and it's very easy to get everyone on board. So we encourage you to do that.
Sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say, I really wish this was around when I owned a teeny tiny share in a horse about 10 years ago with 3 girlfriends in Sydney, but the horse and everybody else who owned the horse lived in Melbourne, and the horse raced in Melbourne, and she raced Melbourne Cup Day, but I wasn't able to be there because I was in another state, but I also had no idea how she went or race updates and things like that, which is the exact problem I know that you guys are solving.
Right.
And it was, I was very disconnected. I just paid my fees every month and, heard about it at some point. And then one day she stopped racing. That's all I know.
Well, that's a really interesting point as well, because although the horse might only race for a couple of years, we really want the app to be the place that you as an owner, you've taken your photos, you can see your videos of your horse, you sell your share, but you don't lose touch with the horse. So there's an ability for you to stay connected to the horse. You don't get access to the chat rooms, but you can still see all the photos, which means the new group of owners who might purchase your horse because it might become a broodmare or a stallion, or it might have another life as an equestrian horse, you can actually upload those photos and then see the full life cycle of the horse. So that's the most exciting part. I think the transparency and really being able to see what happens to your horse pre and post racing is really important.
Definitely. I'm going to digress a little, or not digress, but just gear change a little bit. COVID has obviously been a really big issue for the entire world right now, and a lot of companies and businesses have had to pivot. How has it affected Fred?
I mean, I think from our perspective, we're sort of in the middle of building products. So directly for us, it hasn't impacted us negatively. We're fortunate that with our development team, especially when you're working on a sort of technical solution, having that remote team, we're all pretty well versed working that way. So we're fortunate. I think if anything, it's highlighted the need of, as I said before, those owners that live interstate or overseas about the type of experience they might be getting. It's very easy to forget people like yourself when you said you had a horse that was in Melbourne, you're in Sydney. And I think this is really putting a spotlight on that for the industry to go, let's provide a better experience for people. We have horses that are in Brisbane. And in fact, recently, it was a little filly and we had a naming ceremony. And so there was a social event up in Brisbane. Of course, we can't leave our house or at all in Melbourne. So it was actually really nice to see that we could connect with those other owners up in Brisbane when we're naming our horse. And the app can provide that sort of social connectedness in the way that you can chat to those other owners straight away. So once again, that social networking is so important.
It really is. I would just like to remind our viewers we have 5 minutes left of this live Q&A. Thank you for joining us today, and apologies that the technical aspect of the live chat question and answer function, has not really worked today, but we've kept it going, kept the ball rolling, and you are definitely able to contact Rich or Amy via email after demo day. All the details will be on their profile page. So please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions at all. It's been an amazing pitch day, and we're so glad that you've been able to join us regardless. Demo day has, of course, been all about customer empowerment. So would love to hear more about how Friends of Mr. Ed is empowering customers.
Yeah, so download the app, connect yourself to a racehorse, and really connect with those other owners. So, you've said it previously, Marietta, you're in Sydney, you don't know the other owners. So just getting to know who they are. Like I connected with one of our Brisbane horses last week. They downloaded the app. He then called me. Oh my God, hello, Rich. Love the app. Oh, didn't know that there was owners in Melbourne. Can't wait for you to get up here. We'll go out for dinner.
We can't wait to get up there either.
Really looking forward to it. So
Yeah.
from an empowerment perspective, the owners really have an opportunity to take videos of their horse, share them with the other owners. If they're going to see it on track, great. If they're seeing it in a paddock, great. Not everyone has that opportunity.
We've had lots of experience. We had a beta version of the app going for the last 12 months, and it was so good on a Wednesday when we're stuck in the office at work. You can't get down to the track, and there's always one owner that can make the track. And so we were just saying, can you take us, the pre and post jockey report, or talk to the strapper and ask how the horse had travelled. So it's really democratizing the information sharing between owners, as opposed to being passive and waiting for the updates from the trainer or from the syndicator. Owners now can actually help each other out and share information with each other. And that's really going to radically change the racing industry, putting the power back into the hands of the owner, who are the customers.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been, we're coming close to spring racing, which is always a really popular time. And this might be a little bit outside of your remit, but have you guys thought about how COVID might affect spring racing? I bet you're really hoping it all goes ahead as usual, but it's just, It's all very up in the air, right? And I guess at least with Fred, owners will be able to stay in touch with all the other owners and keep track of all the races.
That's right. Look, I think everyone in the industry is keeping their fingers crossed to say that, there will be a vaccine or something will happen and that will enable people to get back to the track. I think the reality of where we're at globally, it's not going to happen. So let's think of more creative ways of being able to connect people to the sport during that time. Everyone's used to Zoom calls these days, so it's a really great opportunity to create social events in the app. We can do that as well. So if you're a trainer or a syndicator and you want to create a social event, you can actually do that through the Fred app and put a Zoom link in there and have all your owners see each other, get connected, start chatting, feel like you're on the track, even when you're not there. So we think the app itself can really help those trainers and syndicators in these difficult times.
I agree with you. It most certainly will. We only have a couple of minutes left, but I think I can roll through a couple of other more questions. But a reminder to our viewers that the recording of Friends of Mr. Ed's pitch will be on the website, as well as a link to the recording of this Q&A. If you think you may have missed something, you missed the start, feel free to link on and watch it back. I know I'll watch your pitch back. I really loved it. It was so great. Now, Fred, does sound to me like it is a first in this kind of social platform for horse race owners. Are there any competitors out there? And if so, what differentiates you from them?
So in some ways it is a first. Our competitors are more of a B2B business. So their customers, if you like, are the trainers and syndicators. We are more of the ecosystem. We're generally a B2C business, so we're trying to put our owners at the central heart of what our business is all about. So that makes us different in the marketplace. We're a social app. We're focused on that as the primary focus of being a racing fan. And so that makes us different from some of the other types of products that are out there.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Rich and Amy. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. This has been a fantastic demo day and we hope everyone has enjoyed it. Remember, you can access the recordings of these Q&As after the event has wrapped. You'll also still be able to contact Rich and Amy via our event website. So please connect with them at the website that we've posted in the chat. And most importantly, if you own a racehorse or know someone who does, download the app and start following your horse or your friends' horses and connecting with other owners. And I guess finally, if you're interested in partnering with Rich and Amy or investing, get in touch. They are keen to hear from you. Thanks again. And we hope you've enjoyed Startup Bootcamp Sports and Event Tech 2020 Demo Day. Thank you.